Vamos a estar hablando con Wright, que es un emprendedor y además ha creado un ecosistema de emprendimiento que parte de un entorno educativo y un entorno de encuentro de estudiantes internacional que se llama iGEM, en el que ya han participado 3 equipos de Navarra, 2 equipos en la categoría High School con el nombre de BioGalaxy y un equipo en la categoría universitaria de la Universidad Pública de Navarra. Así que voy a empezar a hablar en inglés. Y Will, I'm now talking with you. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you very much for the introduction, and apologies, my Spanish is not so good.
It's all my fault. My apologies that we don't speak French and you speak a perfect English. So I was introducing that you will be talking about bioentrepreneurship. You are a bioentrepreneur yourself, and you are also consulting and advising bioentrepreneurs. I believe you will be talking also about iGEM. We have some experience with 3 teams, 2 high school teams and 1 college team that went to Boston last year and the 2 years before. And hopefully next year we will be meeting in Paris, so we will be close to where you're living. And it is a fact that along the history of iGEM, many teams transform themselves into entrepreneurs. So you will be talking about that, and I give you the floor and the screen. Thank you, Will.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. And that's absolutely right. And we're delighted to have you join us next year in Paris. And iGEM is the world's largest kind of community of synthetic biologists. And I can quickly give a talk about that. Briefly, I'll give my introduction. Myself, I've been working now within iGEM and the synthetic biology community for around 10 years. I started my research was up in St Andrews in the University of Scotland before I moved to Denmark, where I started my first companies working on things like Tiger.bio, making active pharmaceutical ingredients in moss, and then later in the big data space, working with artificial intelligence to make vaccine candidates. And from these experiences, I then went into work in investment for the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Denmark in their accelerator program, and now recently joined iGEM to take responsibility for the innovation community.
Will, are you sharing your screen, or
I will share my screen now?
Okay.
Yeah. I just want to give a quick introduction to myself.
Okay, great.
It's not in my slides. So hopefully you can see my screen now. And
perfect. Yes.
Yeah, and I can say a little bit about what EPIC is. So I'm the director of entrepreneurship here at the iGEM Foundation, and responsible for the International Genetically Engineered Machine. That stands for Entrepreneurship Program Innovation Community. So it's a great community to work with, and looking at how synthetic biology can really have an impact in our world. I'll talk a little bit more about iGEM and how we got to where we are with the startup community. So iGEMers, what is an iGEmer? An iGEmer is someone who has spent a good part of their year normally as a junior researcher working with other cross-disciplinary team members, anywhere up to 10 kind of people in a team, tackling a local problem using synthetic biology. And they can look into anything from plastics in the oceans to new antimicrobial resistant therapies to vaccine candidates and all sorts of wonderful projects around our challenges in food, health and water. And every year we've been growing. So since 2004, when we began at MIT, there was only a few teams, a handful, maybe even 30. And now we represent up to 350 teams around the world. And there's around 7,000 participants every year in the competition. Some of them at high school, some of them at university, some of them in overgrad. And what it represents is kind of the coming together of many of the PIs, the junior researchers, and the high school teams. And they're sharing their information, sharing their projects, and you see a snapshot of the future of our field in synthetic biology. And it's really a very inspirational and a very energizing experience. So I highly recommend and welcome everyone and invite everyone to join us for Paris when we can hopefully meet again in 2021. If you can't join next year, though, there are plenty of virtual events this year to get a flavour of what iGEM does. So, as mentioned, we've become better known as becoming more of a global supercluster of synthetic biology. And we're, as the largest synthetic biology community in the world, we now have just over 40,000 members who have been through iGEM. And they've come from 350 of the world's top synthetic biology labs, around 1/3 of those in the Americas, 1/3 of those in EMA, and 1/3 in Asia Pacific. And together, they've created this amazing resource of an open registry of 20,000 biobricks, which are kind of gene blocks that help you build up your protein or circuitry of any standardized biological parts to help solve these problems. And each year the teams build upon these parts to create better and stronger projects. And so this is wonderful to work with, and it's great to be part of this every year and see how everyone grows. But my part of it is looking at how it happens afterwards. And the question that really got me interested in working with iGEM was, what if 10% of these iGEM projects that we saw every year solving these challenges could turn into real solutions? And within the world, there are many frameworks, many challenges we're aware of, but we're looking primarily now at the Sustainable Development Goals of ways that synthetic biology is very well placed as a biological tool set to see how we can transition to a sustainable bioeconomy, and how iGEM can help facilitate that through different aspects, working in innovation, as well as in policy, as in security, to work with governments, other stakeholders, and entrepreneurs to progress what happens outside the competition. So we can really enable synthetic biology to transition to a bioeconomy. And within the world I work in is the startups. And we've had a long history now of creating startup success in iGEM. The many aspects of building an iGEM team are entrepreneurial in the creating of a understanding of a local problem and the customer group, raising money for your team and your research, and then developing a proof of concept in the research stage. Within the year that iGEM is, that's about as far as the teams can go, but many want to continue beyond this, and many do. So most famously, I think Ginkgo Bioworks is started from one of our early iGEM teams. And we share still many of the team members on their board and ours, Tom Knight amongst others. And then many others in Europe. We're better known for Glio Biosciences here in France, but also things like Pure Affinity in the UK as well. And then in Asia Pacific, larger companies like Bluefer working on plastic in the oceans. And this community has organically grown year after year. And each year we see more startups coming out of the experience. And this year we've finally had the chance to look back and see what's actually happened. So I'm happy to share some of the insights about some of our bio founders. As you can see, it's a wide range. We have 157 startups that have come out of iGEM in the last 17 years now. And they kind of covers 27 countries, predominantly because we have our basis in America. We're coming out of MIT, they're mostly in the US. However, there is a large number if you include the UK, France, Netherlands, and Germany, Denmark, in Europe. And then we see other areas such as China, Mexico, and Spain growing as well. And so this is where we've seen a large growth of the teams, people who wanted to continue in building these interesting projects in therapeutics, in environmental solutions, and in water. And that's created, we estimate, around 1,500 jobs immediately in startup world, which is founded by around 339 founders who've gone on to create these companies. So it's nice to see that community grow and exist. And one thing that they've done outside of the iGEM world is raise around $1.2 billion for their startups over the kind of their lifetime, and created much more in enterprise value. I think the portfolio is worth $5.6 billion if you add up all the startups together. And this is where we see this impact happening. There's a collective action that comes from these projects that are taken and translated into real world solutions. And that's what we're here to support. So what the entrepreneurship program and innovation community really works on is how do we support this growth and how do we increase this? So we work with kind of 4 pillars in our program every year to increase the number of people who are exposed to entrepreneurial opportunities from the iGEM communities and the wider community. So for anyone who's interested to come work with us, we work on a very open basis, that we provide kind of synthetic biology toolkits, we provide the entrepreneurship toolkit, and we take a look at kind of impact. And through this, we work on something called the Venture Creation Labs. So we kind of recruit for founders, around 300 of them. We'll be recruiting for this next coming year between January and March. And we do our best to match make you with a co-founder, either someone who's been in an iGEM team or someone who's familiar with synthetic biology. And we try and build you into a team of around 3 people. And we work with you in a boot camp over a few weeks from March until June. It's going to build up your first investment pitch and investment story to get ready. After that, we matchmake you with experienced mentors from some of the companies previously mentioned. We're very lucky to have experienced serial entrepreneurs and other mentors join to help pay it back to those who are starting their journey and can help give direction to where they're going. And then beyond that, we do a facilitation of interactions with investments. So we help the cohort go and raise their first rounds. We primarily focus on making sure they have a good understanding of a problem and a customer base. Largely, we're blessed with good technology, but we're not so blessed with understanding the problem and the market need. And so we try and focus on that. We focus on building a great team around it. And we focus on the first seed rounds of funding up to kind of Series A with our partners and network. And then at the end of the year, we get to celebrate all this back where it all began at the iGEM Giant Jamboree. So we invite all the investors and the corporates and the startup founders and all the iGEMers to come back and see what's happened over that time. So the ambition of all this is to come together is to create around 100 new companies a year through our network, which is an ambitious goal. We hope to be there by 2025, working both with the iGEM community and the wider community to try and increase the amount of people using these toolkits to solve challenges of our time. So that's the ambition where we want to get to. And we believe if we can generate around 100 companies for around 10 years, it's 1,000 companies aiming towards substantial change in the SDGs, in the specific areas of food, health and water, where we see synthetic biology has a huge potential to improve the quality of life and transition us to a sustainable future. So that's a bit about what we do and what we're up to. Very happy to take questions and learn a bit more about how I can help and what EPIC can do in the region.
Thank you so much, Will. This is very impressive, and I truly believe that you will be reaching your goal of 100 companies even before than 2025. So I bet on that. I want to understand this process that you described. Is it a batch-based process? So you will begin with a group of companies, and then when you end with that group, you begin with a new group, or you are parallelizing that?
Yeah, so we work in kind of around the iGEM calendar year as well. So we're designed that once you finish your iGEM experience, around 6 months later, you might be ready to start a company. If you're not, you're welcome to take many years off. Many people go to PhDs and research and then come back later. So our job is really looking at a batch process where we open it up through those months, and you can apply at any time. But we really try and find talents around synthetic biology, entrepreneurship, and operations to kind of co-found teams. So about 1/3 of our cohort this year came from iGEM teams. So we had around 90 founders come through this year, and about 1/3 of those came from pure iGEM teams. They met each other in an iGEM competition, and they wanted to continue with their project. About another third came from iGEM teams that had gone on, done different things, and were now in the later stage of their career and wanted to be match made with others in the community. And that made about 1/3 of people we co-founded. We helped them find their co-founder, and we ran them through workshops to work on the problem need fit, using a lot of the design thinking toolkits of really looking at discovering a problem, defining what it is, developing the solutions, and pinpointing on which prototypes they can use from the open registry.
Okay,
and then so go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I shared the website of iGEM because somebody's asking when the showcase and jamboree competition are, and whether they are accessible online or not. and
yes.
how to access that.
Yeah, our webpage is sometimes a bit hard to transition. So I'll just share.
Yeah, I shared the igem.org,
yeah,
but you have a better one.
I'll just share the EPIC webpage as well within that. So that gives a bit more information around what we're doing in our program. I can also share some of our insights reports that we recently published. So that can hopefully give some insights to what we're talking around.
Okay.
Well.
Could you please talk a little bit about how you are cooperating with platforms that allow cooperation, like Juggle, and also maybe how you your vision is on cooperating with big incubators or accelerators like Navarro.BIO?
That's right. Yeah. So we work quite closely with various members of the iGEM kind of wider community, and one of the most interesting and exciting collaborations we launched this year. We had one with Hello Tomorrow, which is about the BioFutures initiative in Europe, about how we change policies and innovation around the Green New Deal and how we look at post-pandemic recovery towards policies that support that. With Joggle, we focus more on how we can enable iGEMers to work in the open science community on a project beyond just the competition, and working with the open science community to provide them with labs and expertise. So we've taken a focus in there on kind of the 4 kind of pillars within the SDGs, and we're enabling teams to work with that on the Joggle platform. So Joggle was started by one of the iGEMers, Thomas Latran, and that means that we have quite a good working relationship. And there's the same story with Hello Tomorrow and SynBioBeta and many other of these La Biotech and many of these other exciting kind of ecosystem players. So we have very good working relationships. We'll probably announce larger partnerships going forward as we try and integrate the wider community. And one of the ambitions for Paris 2021 is to really welcome home everyone who's come from iGEM to kind of a homecoming, so that we'll be able to celebrate all the achievements of everyone, but also see how this kind of initiating experience of being in iGEM helps you explore other areas and opportunities beyond just the competition. So we're really excited about that with Joggle. And then, yeah, we're also looking at working with others as well. Sorry, it's my office mate. So yeah, when we look going forward about that, we're looking to work with partners like Navarro.BIO, Y Combinator, Ginkgo, Petri, in the US at least, and then we look in kind of the rest of the world. Bioinnovation Institute and Accelerate and others are really good partners in terms of already helping us find and work with good teams. But they're good investors, right? And that's what they're looking for, is in good investment cases. So we really help facilitate that connection between the teams that we have and that investment opportunity for them. So we're kind of in the middle ground. Yeah, it's historically, as you'll see in the report, Navarro by far and away, or SOSV I should say, have been by far and away the biggest investor. But I think Y Combinator is the most famous one because Ginkgo Bio is kind of the unicorn of our industry. So there are these really good relationships that we have, and EPIC's a really nice platform to connect people through that. Yeah.
Okay, I think synthetic biology is as much as about innovation as it is about cooperation and trying to solve the big problems that are global, and as you showed. So I wish to have you in Navarra soon. We will for sure be in Paris whenever it's possible, and otherwise we will meet online because we're betting on building capacity with the young generation, and we're also betting on transforming our innovation ecosystem to help bio-entrepreneurs move faster and beyond and scale up faster. So this is why we are now having these conversations, and we want to connect with the best all over the world, whether they are in Almeria, Valladolid, or in Paris. So thank you very much, Will, and we will close this session.